The morning sun bathed the small town of Elmsworth in a soft golden light, but for Adrian Cole that light had lost all meaning. He stood alone in the driveway of the modest home he'd built with every ounce of his effort, watching as the car carrying his wife, Clara, disappeared down the road. She didn't look back, not once. The echo of her last words still rang in his ears. "You're a failure, Adrian. I can't live this kind of life any more." Those words sliced through him deeper than any blade could. She left him for someone else, someone with more money, more status, more success. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and true worth beyond wealth, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life. Adrian had always been the quiet kind, the man who helped others before helping himself. He owned a small mechanics shop that barely made enough to keep the lights on. While others spent their nights celebrating at fancy restaurants, he spent his fixing engines under a dim bulb, covered in oil and sweat. Clara had once loved that about him, the hard work, the honesty, the humility. But over time, love faded under the weight of bills, envy, and unfulfilled dreams. She wanted more than the smell of grease and the sound of tools clattering. She wanted glitter, luxury, and a man who could give it all. When she left, Adrian didn't fight, he didn't beg, he just whispered, "Take care of yourself," and watched her drive away with her new lover, a sleek man named Vincent Moore, known for his expensive suits and hollow smile. The neighbors whispered, some pitied him, others mocked. Adrian was never enough for her, they said. She made the right choice. But none of them knew what was coming. The next few weeks were a blur of silence and exhaustion. Adrian worked harder than ever, not to prove anyone wrong, but to numb the pain. He spent his nights under the stars, alone in his workshop, sketching designs and blueprints no one knew about. For years he had been developing something extraordinary, an engine design that could change the face of sustainable energy, something the world desperately needed but didn't yet believe in. He'd kept it secret, even from Clara, because she never cared to ask what his late nights were for. Then one day, fate intervened. A local college student named Maya walked into his shop, asking for a part for her old motorcycle. She noticed the stacks of designs on his table, filled with complex formulas and sketches. Curious, she asked about them. For the first time in months, Adrian smiled. He explained the concept. A self-regenerating hybrid engine that used magnetic force and kinetic recovery to power itself. Maya's eyes widened. This could change everything, she whispered. She happened to be an engineering intern at a national innovation program and offered to show his work to her mentor. Adrian hesitated but finally agreed. Within a week, a team of experts arrived from the Green Tech Foundation, a government-backed innovation firm. They were astonished by what they saw. What Adrian had created in his small, grease-covered garage was nothing short of revolutionary. After several tests, his prototype passed every efficiency standard with flying colors. Soon, he was invited to present it before an international energy summit. The same town that once mocked him now whispered a different tune. People who once looked down on him began to nod respectfully as he passed by. But Adrian didn't change. He still wore the same worn-out jacket, still smiled at everyone, and still drove his rusty pickup truck. Weeks later, the news channels blazed with headlines. Local mechanic discovers world-changing energy innovation. Adrian Cole's engine could end the global fuel crisis. The day of the summit arrived. The grand hall in the city gleamed with chandeliers and suits worth thousands. Cameras flashed as Adrian walked in, humble, quiet, and slightly nervous, wearing his old gray coat. But when he spoke, the room fell silent. He didn't talk about money or fame. He spoke about hope, about how small ideas born in silent pain can one day illuminate the world. His presentation ended with a standing ovation. Investors and corporations lined up to meet him, but Adrian wasn't interested in selling his soul. He signed an exclusive deal ensuring his invention would remain affordable and accessible to all. That day, his name spread across continents. Meanwhile, Clara watched it all unfold from her luxurious apartment beside Vincent, the man she had chosen over love. Vincent was glued to the TV, his jaw tight, his expression bitter. "That's the same man who used to beg for spare parts," he muttered, but Clara couldn't speak. Her heart sank as she watched Adrian's calm smile, that same gentle look she once found boring but now seemed impossibly dignified. She realized too late that the man she had left behind wasn't poor, he was priceless. The next morning, Clara showed up at Adrian's garage. It had been renovated into a research facility now, with workers and reporters around. She waited outside, nervous, holding her handbag tightly. When Adrian walked out, she almost didn't recognize him. He looked the same, yet different. The sorrow in his eyes was gone, replaced by peace. "Adrian," she said softly. He turned, polite but distant. "I just wanted to say I'm proud of you," she whispered. He nodded. "Thank you, Clara. I'm glad you're doing well." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I made a mistake," she confessed. "I didn't see your worth. I thought money defined success, but you proved me wrong." Adrian's expression softened. "You didn't make a mistake," he said quietly. "You just made a choice, and sometimes we all need to lose something to understand what really matters." She lowered her head, unable to respond. As she walked away, the cameras began to flash again, and Adrian turned toward the crowd, toward his future. Months later, his invention was implemented across multiple developing countries, giving millions access to clean, affordable energy. He received global awards, but he stayed in Elmsworth, still living a simple life, still fixing cars when he could. People from all over came to thank him, not for being a genius, but for being good. One afternoon, Maya, the student who had first believed in him, visited with her parents. They thanked Adrian for inspiring their daughter and offered him a position as a mentor at her university. He accepted, smiling warmly. That evening, as the sun set behind the workshop, he looked up and whispered, "Thank you, life, for breaking me just enough to rebuild me better." To everyone who had once doubted him, his success wasn't loud or boastful. It was silent, graceful, and undeniable. The man everyone thought was a failure had become the hope of millions, and those who had mocked him could do nothing but stand in awe. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light. Your engagement helps us share more stories that remind the world that kindness, humility, and faith never go unnoticed. And before this story ends, we have a small request. Comment below with one word that describes what true success means to you. Because sometimes the richest hearts wear the simplest clothes, and the loudest truths are spoken by those who stayed silent the longest. The end.